Hello and welcome to Game Changer Live, brought to you by connorscoaching.com. If you like what we bring in this video, take a moment to log into YouTube, like and subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment to help us grow. Together, we create an inspired community around topics of positivity, coaching, personal development, mindset, emotional wellness, emotional intelligence, leadership development, applied practical neuroscience, workplace culture, and engagement, and so much more. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and guests join us on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. And together we get inspired. So let's do that. My name is Daniel Connor. I own Connor's Coaching, and I am I am a certified professional coach and a proud member of the International Coaching Federation. Stuck people hire me when they're ready to get unstuck, to discover a more fulfilling and purposeful life so that every day they find a better version of themselves reflected in the mirror. And today we're going to talk about that mirror. We're going to talk about self-care, which is how you look at yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you respect yourself overall, right? And I think as a society that this is a big missed opportunity for us. You know, if someone on the street says, I need a little bit of self-care today. I'm going to go take a spa day. That's what I think of as the spa day. I think of white fluffy towels. I think of a steamy bath. I think of guacamole all over your face and cucumbers on your eyes. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not I'm not dissing on that. That can be a very good way of relaxing, of showing yourself that you matter, of pampering yourself, and that is definitely a part of self-care. However, what I'm saying is, as a society, that there are other languages of love that we could be expressing towards ourselves that we might respond to better, and that we are not doing for ourselves, or at least not consciously doing, in a way that benefits us in the long run. So let's redefine um, how we're going to think of self care going forward. So, the Connors coaching definition that we're going to use is self care is an act of purposeful and mindful self love that reinforces the belief that you matter to you, that you appreciate yourself, and that everything that you go through on this planet matters. And as I mentioned, we are going to talk about the love languages. I did not create the love languages. These are not my intellectual property. There's a whole book on love languages out there. However, I am adapting love languages, which are typically, there's 5 archetypes of how human beings connect with each other, how they communicate with each other, and how they show affection towards each other, specifically around affection, around love and relationships. So, we are going to be exploring how we can use those love languages to redefine how we express that love for ourselves, how we create a self-care routine for ourselves. We're also going to talk about the difference between taking care of yourself and mindfully taking care of yourself. I am a mindset coach. Mindset to me is the fundamental foundation of everything that you do in life. If you don't have the right mindset, it's you're doomed to fail. It's like walking uphill up a hill that's covered in ice. Like there's it's not convenient, it's not easy, and it's very difficult to push yourself past that kind of counterintuitive attitude, right? Attitude is so important. And the way that you look at yourself, the way that you treat yourself, if it's done on a conscious level, will change the effectiveness of the self care. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, too. And by the way, this is live. I am not perfect, and I want you to see that. I do not want my clients to walk into a coaching relationship with me thinking that I know all of the answers, because that's not how coaching works. Coaching works because you have all of the right answers for you. And while it is true that this show specifically provides suggestions or advice. The intent here is to inspire you to look at this area in your own life and to find a way to apply these techniques or trends to your own life that work for you. Um, and everyone is different. So I never want to present something in this show that is meant to sound like it's a better version of you, um, or that I have all of the answers. I don't. I don't have all of the answers. In fact, you have all of the answers for yourself. I don't get to make up your criteria for what a good or fulfilled life looks like. That's your job. My job is to help you do that so that you are certain that that's the life that you actually want to move towards. And so that rant, um, that rant is over. Let's talk about love languages. So the 5 love languages are physical, affirmation, gift, quality time, and acts of service. Those are the 5. Um, so when we're talking about showing love towards other people, it's also about receiving love from other people. And what I want you to think about is that you have a way of communicating love to other people, but you also have a preferred way of receiving love from people. And when you're doing this, it's a two-way street. So when someone is giving you love, there is kind of a socially acceptable or a human response that is kind of accepted or expected in these regards, and that's an important part of love languages. So when we're talking about physical, this is sex and intimacy, kissing, hugging. It can be holding hands in a movie theater or just cuddling. When we're talking about other people showing love on a physical level, that's really easy to imagine. Well, honestly, it's also very easy to imagine on a personal level because this is traditional self care. This is that spa day. This is going and getting a massage. This is practicing good hygiene. This is moisturizing your skin and nourishing your body with good food. And while the premise of this is that isn't the only part of it, that still is a part of it. And there are people out there who really respond well to receiving that kind of self-care from themselves and also enjoy giving it to themselves. It feels like loving themselves and it feels like they love themselves. And that's an important part of self-care. Um, when we when we look at the other 4 languages, though, I think that these are the ones that are absent with regards to self care, with regards to how much we love ourselves, or with regards to how we show ourselves care. So, we're going to look at affirmations next. Affirmations is that vocal expression of love. So when you vocalize your love for someone else, it's saying that you love them. It's telling them how much they matter to you. It is expressing your feelings for another person. It may even be cute little rituals that you have for each other, like maybe there's a song that you sing to each other when you go to cook a specific meal, because we're all a little bit quirky, right? At least I hope so, because that's what I am. Um, and so when we're looking at self care from an affirmations perspective, we're talking about that mental voice. We're talking about the words that you use to describe yourself. We're talking about the avoiding the destructive language like the shouldas, right? I should have done this. I shouldn't have done this. Shitting on yourself isn't a good way of showing love for yourself. This can also be daily affirmations or creating habits of ritual that really promote a feeling that you have or that you want to evoke. When you think about ritual, you think about Maybe you think about religious rituals. Maybe you think about lighting candles in a very specific order. Well, if you think about that in terms of there's also thoughts that go along with those rituals, you can see how that could get you into a habit of creating kind of an affirmation of, I love myself and I matter and I care about myself and I appreciate the fact that I struggled to be here today, or that um, I'm doing my very best. Affirmations are an important part of self care that oftentimes get ignored. And when you get an affirmation from someone else, there's a socially accepted expectation that you return the favor, that you say I love you too, that you say, which can create a lot of funny sitcom situations, right? But that that you feel, or that you express your return of that affection, or that you acknowledge that affection, that you say thank you so much for saying that, or ah gee, or that you have a return of love expressed. When you do this with yourself, make sure that you take time to have that moment with yourself, to say yes, thank you for telling me that you love me, I love me too. Let's move on to the next love language. The next language is gifts, and this place can be kind of a sticky wicket. Um, that's a that's an old-fashioned term, I guess. But when we're looking at gifts, this is spending money for other people, or buying them gifts, or making them gifts. This can also be spending a lot of effort on making a really nice dinner for someone, or um, buying them clothes, or giving them a box of chocolates, or something like that. Those can be a language of love. A lot of pets have this language of love, where they'll, like cats, will leave you a gift to show that they love you. Yay. um, but the thing is that when we're rewarding our behavior, oftentimes we go to gifts when we need comfort because we're struggling. We think, I've had a really bad day, I could really use some ice cream, or I broke up, let me dig into that Haagen-Dazs. There's actually social concepts around this, of the spoon and the Haagen-Dazs, and you know let's just forget the bowl and just eat right out of the carton. um and by the way, we're not sponsored. I said the brand name, whatever. Anyway, um when you're looking at it from a self-care perspective, it's important that the reason that you're giving yourself this gift isn't to recover from something bad, but rather because you matter and because you're the thing that's being rewarded. That you're giving this whatever to yourself because you deserve it, not because you pity yourself. And so, if you think about it from that perspective, that is a definite line in the sand of where culture does have this form of self-care, but we might think of it in a kind of an unhealthy way, or we might kind of create some unhealthy expectations. Now, everyone is different, and some people don't have the tendencies that I do. I could really go overboard in this area, really treat myself to that Haagen Dazs. And so I have to be really careful with my mentality around giving gifts to myself. The other area of gift giving, though, that is also important is how you um, how you outwardly appear can also reflect how you inwardly feel. So wearing clothing that makes you feel good or makes you feel confident can be an act of self-care in this regard. So making sure that you have clean clothes, that you have nice clothes that you feel comfortable in, that you enjoy wearing, that's an important part of showing self-love with the gift area. Let's move on. We have two more languages of love to explore, and then we'll talk a little bit about mindset. So, the next area of love, the next language of love is quality time. Now, with quality time, um, with other people, this is sitting, watching TV together. This is reading a book together and discussing it. This is, we actually we're watching Wednesday right now on Netflix. And it is this kind of like a mystery that's going on, and we really are into we discuss it all the time. In fact, we had a walk today at lunch, and we talked about it for most of the walk. Then we talked about the show for the other half. So, spending quality time with someone else is an act of love, and finding ways to spend time with them, going to the movie theater, going out on a date, those kinds of things. Those are all the acts of love as expressed through quality time. Just listening to someone can be a very fulfilling way of showing love. And the best way to do this for yourself, in my opinion, might be meditation or prayer or silent activities or hobbies or mental activities like puzzles that keep you sharp and get you focused. I used to love doing Sudoku, and I kind of go through phases. But those moments can be very healing for yourself. We're going to talk about mindset here after we get through our last language of love, but this one is critical for mindset, because if you're spending time with yourself, making sure that you're conscious for that time, I think, is a huge difference in feeling that love and making it a form of self-care. So again, quality time in self-love or self-care, this is meditation, it's prayer, it's mental activities, it's hobbies, right? And being conscious during that time is a form of socially acceptable response to that being done. If you're on a date and your date falls asleep in the middle of dinner, doesn't really feel like quality time. If you're sitting and meditating because you mentally deserve that quiet time and that time to reflect and to just really focus, and you drift off into a different mind, or you let thoughts intrude on that time, you're not really taking advantage of that. That's why mindset matters. Moving on. The last language of love is acts of service. And so when we're talking about this for other people, this is the language of love that I grew up with. This is um, cooking a big dinner for people because you love them. And that can be part of gift giving as well. With gift giving, if you're cooking a big dinner, it's more that it's elegant and extravagant, and then you really go beyond, above and beyond. With acts of service, this is the daily taking care of dinner. This is cleaning the house. This is doing the dishes, those kinds of things for someone else. Now, you have a life, and your life requires you to do certain things: brush your teeth, take showers, um, chores, laundry. All of these kinds of things come with being a human being. And there are services that you already perform for yourself that fall in this category. And the difference really is mindset with regards to what changes this into self-care. And I talk about this a lot, but this is, I think, one of the things that my coaching program really focuses on is how those acts of service can be transformed into acts of self-love and self-care. So, for example, I used to hate doing the dishes. I've hated doing the dishes my whole life. My mom used to bribe me to do, homework or practice the piano by saying I could either do that or the dishes, and I would always choose to do homework or practice the piano if that was the alternative. Um, and yet, I have transformed myself to the point where I love to do the dishes because it is an act of self care. Because Not because I like doing the dishes. I still hate doing the dishes, but because I love having a clean kitchen. I know I love having a clean kitchen. I deserve to have a clean kitchen. So I clean my dishes, I clean my kitchen because of that rewarding sensation. And when I finish, I always take a moment to appreciate the effort that I just went to show myself that self-love. I do it also when I make the bed every morning. I do it when I do my laundry. Um, the conscious level of caring for yourself and doing these acts of service really are game changers. Pun intended. So you can see why mindfulness is so important. It's ingrained in our culture of expressing love for other people, that we are mindful during quality time, that we're mindful during acts of service, that we express um, a return of those expressions of love, the affirmations, that we express a gratitude for those acts of service, that we receive those gifts, and that we express admiration for those gifts. Those are all ingrained in our cultural expectations of how we show love to other people. When we look at this for ourselves, that mindfulness becomes exceptionally important because there's only one person involved in this. You're both the giver and the receiver of the love. So when you're looking at um, showing yourself an act of love, an act of kindness, an act of self care, being conscious, being really present and focused in this moment is so important. It really transforms it from just cleaning the dishes to an act of self care. So, we're talking about this as receiving mindfully, that you're taking the time to do it the right way, that you enjoy the time without those intruding thoughts, that you express gratitude to yourself after you're done, that you take time for breathing or mantras or whatever it is that you need to do to be present in that moment. So, the thing is, you matter. You, right here, you matter. The person that you matter to the most in this entire world is you. Because without that person, you wouldn't exist. And that is both redundant and pedantic. But it's also something that most people take for granted. In the words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how in the world are you going to love anyone else? Going a little bit further, if you can't love yourself, no amount of love anyone else expresses for you is going to be worth a damn, because it won't mean anything. You won't believe it because you don't see yourself as someone that's worthy of being loved. And you are. Taking time to show that love for yourself is so exceptionally important that we have to take time for self care. And we need to make sure that it is way more than just a spa day. You gotta love yourself to feel loved by other people and to love other people. And I need to express some love to you. Thank you so much for being here and watching the show today. Since you stuck around this long, Don't forget to take just a moment out of your time for an act of service to log into YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And leave a like to this video and a comment about what you're inspired for, what your next act of self-care is going to be, or whatever you would like it to be. Thank you so much for being here today. Next week, we have a guest that's going to be joining us, Sarah Blankenship. She is the voice of Gen X Nation. She is going to tell us the story of how she moved from food stamps to six figures, and she's going to share the strategies of how she got there and how you can too. And we will see you then. Thank you